Secretary Rubio, thank you for the opportunity. As we sit down today, Hamas has released the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages, said to include a mother and 2 children. Your thoughts?
I think it's a reminder of who Hamas really is. I mean, just think about the fact they went in, they grabbed this family, this young woman, her 2 infant children. I think one was only 4 years old, the other one was 1. And it's not just that they did it and that they died in their captivity. Who does that? I mean, who kidnaps families? And then the way even that they were released, you know, with people cheering in the streets, it just tells you who we're dealing with Hamas. This is not a government. This is not simply an ideological movement. These are evil, terrible people. And the idea that they would ever be allowed to continue to have arms, to be militarized and to control territory anywhere in the world is unfathomable. So our hearts break for these families. You can't be happy that remains are returned, but that's very important to these families. From a religious standpoint, it's a sacred thing. But I think to everybody else, it's a reminder as well of who we're talking about here when we talk about Hamas.
One of the Israeli government's objectives is the destruction of Hamas. You see some of these pictures, they suggest some strength. What does the intelligence tell us?
Well, I would never discuss intelligence, but I can tell you Hamas is weaker than they once were. They clearly have enough people to put on these shows. They clearly have enough people to still be a threat at some level, but they can't be allowed to reconstitute. Hamas cannot be allowed to once again be a group that can do 3 things: terrorize the people of Gaza, attack Israel, and actually be a government or anything like a government anywhere in the world. They just can't be as long as Hamas is in Gaza, there will never be peace in Gaza because they are going to go back to attacking Israel, and Israel is going to have to respond. And I just ask everybody, if a group like that was operating on the other side of our border with Canada or Mexico, constantly launching attacks. If a group existed in Mexico that came across our border, kidnapped Americans, babies, and launched rockets, we would eliminate them. We would wipe them out. And no country in the world can coexist alongside a group whose intended purpose is the destruction of your state and is willing to commit atrocities like this in the pursuance of it. So I think it's in the best interest of everyone, including Palestinians, to get rid of Hamas, because Hamas terrorizes them too. They hide behind these people.
What is the plan for Gaza?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, the president's plan is the only one that's out there right now. And what the president's point is, how are you going to rebuild this place when you have people living among the rubble? How are you going to rebuild it as long as a group like Hamas is operating there? You can't. If Hamas is there, Israel's going to go after them. So he's put out his plan. And his view of it is you got to remove people from the area so you can actually do the construction. Now, our partners in the region don't like that plan. And I talked to them. I've talked to the Egyptians. I've talked to the Jordanians. They came here a week ago. Talked to the Saudis. I talked to the UAE yesterday. And my challenge is, if you don't like the president's plan, then I think you should come up with a better plan. And I hope they do. I hope they come up with a plan that allows for the reconstruction of Gaza. The United States will try to help it, or will help, as will others, including countries in the region that have to take ownership. But look, the job of removing rubble, the job of rebuilding housing, that can be done. And finding the money to pay for it. The countries in that region are very rich. They can help do that as well. I think the fundamental challenge in any plan is, who is going to govern Gaza? What organization, because it can't be Hamas, and how are you going to get rid of them? Because ultimately someone is going to have to go in and get rid of Hamas.